Alright, so I have my dragonflies here. When we're looking at dragonflies, it tells us in the code that it should say on start, show number 5, pause for 1/10 of a second, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. When I test it over here in my emulator, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The code runs what it's supposed to. However, see these little tiny boxes right here? Those are your comments that the programmer puts on here telling you what the code should do. If we click on this first little comment box next to the on start, and then I'm going to drag it to make it a little bigger to see what it's supposed to say. It says when the program starts, the LED grid will count down from 5 to 1 and show Happy New Year across the screen at the end. I'm going to shrink that down now because it's kind of in my way. And I know by playing this that it counts from 5 to 0. Never says Happy New Year. So, looking at my code trace chart, the way that we do this, I put my name here first, and then the name of the code I'm doing is dragonflies. So this is where you put you and your partner's name, and you're going to have dragonflies too. Hold on. Have we seen Clay?
He's not in the seat now.
No, he has not.
Marked him absent, so.
I don't know. Alright. Okay. So the way this chart works is in the first column, it says code, type in each line of code to debug your program. I hate typing out code. I would prefer just to take snips of it. So I'm going to go back to my make code. I'm going to open up my little comment, kind of slide it off to the side, and I'm going to use my snipping tool, and I'm going to take a snip of this first part. It says on start, this is what should happen. Snipping tool automatically makes a copy, so I can go back to my code trace chart and I can paste it in the first column. You're welcome to type it out line by line if you want. I do not recommend it, nor will I go slow enough for that to really help you. Now it says it wants each line of the program. I find that redundant and unnecessary, which is also redundant and unnecessary. Redundant means repetitive for no reason. So it wants to know what happened. Well, on start, it showed number 5. Waited 1/10 of a second, changed to 4.
I think that number is also wrong with the countdown.
Yeah, it does count down wrong. It wants to know, is this correct? How long is it between 5 and 4? It should be 1,000th, not 100th, right? So no, incorrect, because it should be 1,000 milliseconds, not 100. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording for a second, maybe, if it'll let me. Alright, so I know that this is what the whole program's supposed to do. I know it's not working. So when I go to number 5, it says that this line of code is supposed to show the number 5. And then it's supposed to pause for 1,000 milliseconds and show the number 4 and pause for 1,000 milliseconds. See how all my comments are starting to stack up on top of each other? Once you check to make sure it's right, you can shrink those back down. It kind of gets in the way if you don't.
Can you also cover how to stretch the comment box?
I can. So when I have a comment box, like when you opened this one, it was probably kind of like this. If you move your mouse to the corner, you'll get a double arrow, and you can make it bigger. And I don't like that it covers my code, so I can also get the little hand icon and drag it off to the side so it's not in the way. It's kind of hard to code trace if you can't see your code. Okay, so stretch and move. So each of these pauses are supposed to be 1,000 and not 1. So in my code trace chart, I can just copy this code again to my second one. And I can say that it should, or this is the outcome, so it does count down. Spelling is good. From 5 to 0. And then for is it correct? No. Oh my gosh, I can't type. It needs to be 1,000 every time. So that's the second line of my code trace chart. So I know, I already said that I had to change all these to thousands. And then it shows a 0, which I didn't want to go to. I did want it to say Happy New Year, though. So I can take my snipping tool, get another new one, snip it down here.
And notice how she's not fixing all of these things right now.
Nope.
She's just pointing out all the problems first.
I can open my comment box too and see where it says show number 0. It actually says it should say scroll text Happy New Year. You can include that in your snip if you want. So I snip this, go back to my code trace chart. So the outcome, it counted down to 0. Is it correct? No. It should have said Happy New Year instead of 0.
Those of you who are not doing your code trace chart along with her, you have to do it. She's giving you the answers.
You have to do 2 more of these on your own. This one's set up to be your example. We about ready? Did someone say nuh-uh?
I had one second.
All right. That's the entire length of code. So I can scroll down a little and it says, objective, replace this text with the purpose of the code. Well, it tells you inside MakeCode that this is the purpose of the code. I don't want to retype that, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. And it says replace this text with an explanation of the bug or problem. It needs longer pauses and a Happy New Year at the end. Try to get mine on one page for you. A little bit left on this. Ready? And nobody tells me no, so I'm going to go. All right. So it wants a picture of the wrong code. I have snipped other stuff since then, so I'm going to re-snip the whole code real quick. So there's the wrong code. I go to my trace chart. and now it wants me to correct it. So we know from doing the code trace chart already that we have to change each of our hundreds to 1,000. And we know that we have to change show number to show text, or in this case show string, which most of you used last time. And then before I snip this, I need to run it to make sure it actually works. And this is where you realize how long a second actually is. Once I'm sure it's correct, I re-snip the new code that is ready. Go back to my code trace chart, add a picture of the corrected code, and my first code trace chart is done.